Hello, grade 12, and welcome to a new PowerPoint lecture. Our new theme is technology and scientific innovation. The lesson is called Huge Tech, short for technology, huge tech companies pledging or promising to use alternative energy sources. Of course, alternative energy, by alternative energy, we mean renewable, like as you see in the picture, solar energy or wind energy or hydropower, etc. Now, before we begin, let's answer the following discussion questions. What do the terms technology and scientific innovation refer to? List 3 types of scientific innovations that have helped humanity. 3, where would you draw the line on advancement in this field? You would say, that's it. No, this is enough technology. We are bordering on something dangerous. Okay, number 1, what does technology mean and scientific innovation? They both refer to the same thing. They both refer to using science in order to facilitate human life, to make new inventions, to come up with new things in order to improve and facilitate human lives. Number 2, list 3 types of scientific innovations that have helped humanity. There are a lot of them. First of all, I would think about vaccines, which is a scientific innovation that helped save millions and millions of lives. Think of the washing machine, for example, the internet. Think of the new medical technology, robots in operating rooms, the scanning that was able to diagnose the diseases that were undiagnosable before, new medicine, all of that. And the type of technology that is now helping us make this possible, online education, which without it many students around the world would have gone without education during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, number 3, where would you draw the line on advancement in this field? Where would you draw the line? Think of controversial topics. Think about cloning. Or when cloning is when you make like a copy of a certain species. Do you agree that we clone humans, make a copy of that human? Is that ethical? Is that acceptable? Also, think about genetic engineering, where doctors are now increasingly able, or scientists are now increasingly able to modify or change certain genes in humans, like the color of their eyes, their skin, even the gender. Now this is already there. A couple can go visit a clinic and decide on their child's gender. So this is genetic engineering. This is a type of advancement in science where people have mixed opinions about. So those are the answers. You can, of course, stop the video and copy them, or you can take a look at the PowerPoint lectures. Now, before we begin our lesson, let's go through some very important reading skills which will help you analyze a text better. Of course, we took those last year, reading skills, but we need to, I need to give them again to you this year. Paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing? Many times you are asked to paraphrase a given text, a sentence maybe, or maybe a paragraph. Paraphrasing is basically explaining a given text using your own words. What are the steps for paraphrasing, as you remember from last year? Let's refresh our memory. Now, first thing, you read the original text carefully. Then you cite the source. Okay, where is this text from? Is it paragraph 2 in the text global warming, etc.? Is it sentence 2 of paragraph 4 in the text blah blah blah, etc.? You need to cite your source. 3, use third person. You say he or she or they or them. You don't say I. You put it in the third person. And of course, you need to make the text simpler. Obviously, you need to make the words easier to understand. You are explaining it. And finally, change the sentence structure. Active becomes passive, of course, quoted. If you are paraphrasing a quote, you have to report it. You remove the quotes and you explain it. An example here to make things clearer. Original text. During the COVID-19 pandemic or epidemic, differently abled children, those are the disabled, suffered dire consequences, miserable consequences during the lockdown imposed since they were unable to be at the specialty centers where they were taken care of during the day. By the way, this is a fact. Many differently abled children pass through a lot of problems. Now, I need to paraphrase that. Again, make it simpler, explain it in your own words, use third-person pronouns. Okay, it doesn't come from any text. What do I write? In the text above, the author explains that disabled children, instead of saying differently abled, were going through a very tough time, dire, miserable, very tough, difficult. During the quarantine, instead of lockdown, I said quarantine. That was imposed by the government because they were not allowed to, not allowed to be at the centers where they were and helped out by professionals during the day. See how this works? Now that's paraphrasing. Paraphrasing, I bring a text and I explain it. I make it longer most of the time and I make it simpler. Now summarizing is the opposite. They give me a large text and I need to make it smaller. I need to just get the main idea out of it. So summary or summarizing is defined as taking a lot of information and making a shorter, condensed version of that information, keeping only the main points. Steps for summarizing, of course, read the original text, just like paraphrasing. Citation, also just like paraphrasing. Again, use third-person pronouns. Use your own words. Main idea or ideas only. And drop the details, no details. Just the main idea or ideas in that text. On a test or quiz, summarizing questions or summary questions will be asked in one of the following two ways. So observe them well. You guys are in 12th grade. You're going to have an official exam. So this is how they will be asked for you. The first way you will be asked this question is write a one-sentence summary, one sentence with the citation of the paragraph below. The nationality law still prohibits Lebanese women married to foreigners from granting their nationality to their husband and children. The inherent discrimination in the law stems from the country's reliance on religious personal status laws that women's rights groups have argued place women at a disadvantage. After a ministerial committee rejected amending the nationality law in January on the grounds that it would disrupt the country's demographic balance by potentially naturalizing Palestinians, NCLW responded with a detailed repost. Now, summary. There's no article, no nothing. I would just say in the above paragraph or in the text above, the author states that or explains that, please don't write means, that according to the nationality law, look at this, one sentence. Sentence, again, sentence doesn't mean line. A sentence is a group of words that ends with a full stop. This is a sentence. The author states that according to the nationality law, Lebanese women married to foreigners don't have the right to pass their nationality to their spouses, husbands, and children due to certain reasons. Okay, you can say due to certain issues. In one sentence, perfect summary. Or you might be asked to summarize this way. The following is a poor version of a one-sentence summary of the paragraph below. Refer to the paragraph and then write an improved version. So this is not what you're going to summarize or paraphrase. This is a poor summary. They're telling you this is how you should not do it. Read the paragraph again and write an improved version, a good summary. Let's read it. Keeping your body stationary, still, for prolonged periods of time can increase your chances of developing a range of diseases, including certain cancers, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and stroke. But according to the study, factoring in 1 hour of physical activity for each day spent sitting can offset your chances of disease. The study comes along with the solution that the health impacts of an 8-hour workday spent bound to a computer or in a car can be alleviated, made better, by activities as simple as cycling at speeds of more than 16 kilometers per hour or walking briskly at 5.6 kilometers per hour for more than 60 minutes each day. The researchers hope this guidance will kick people and governments into action to get populations moving more. I want to summarize this in one sentence. So the improved version would be, in the above paragraph, the author says, or sitting for a long time has its dangerous impacts on health, but fortunately this can be avoided by 1 hour of physical activity daily. This is an improved version. Or you can say by practicing physical activity on a daily basis. You don't need to write 1 hour. And that would be perfectly good. Moving on, author's tone and attitude. By tone, we mean the attitude that the writer takes toward his topic or probably towards his reading audience. 3 people can write the same topic on the same topic. One of them might be serious, the other skeptical, and the third one might be write it in a light or funny or humorous way if you want. To be able to identify a writer's tone, we have to take a close look at his or her choice of words. The tone may be either formal, impersonal, or informal, like how you would speak with your friend. Formal is like how you would speak with your boss or your teacher. The writer could be serious when he's speaking or she's speaking about an issue such as cancer, could be neutral, no feelings, just stating the facts, objective, stating facts, and impersonal. The following is a list of the most common tones. I am not saying that these are the only tones, but they are the most common that you would find. Critical, ironic, uncertain, skeptical, doubtful, fearful, etc. Hopeful, optimistic, encouraging, angry, gloomy, anxious, threatening, alarmed, warning. We have a lot of those. Hopeless or pessimistic if you want. Several of them are synonymous. Now, sample questions and answers on author's tone. Example, identify the writer's tone in the below paragraph. Justify your answer. Let me read it. But harm to public health is exacerbated or made worse by the burning of garbage. The smoke ascends, goes up, into the atmosphere and then comes back to us in the form of acid rain. The army doctor said, this affects everything from the air we inhale to the vegetables we eat and have been exposed to. The doctor said the pernicious health effects were unavoidable. Frankly, there is nothing we can do about this. Dr. Nadim Kanj, a professor at the American University of Beirut's Medical Center, said, this is not new. We have been suffering for years and years. The garbage crisis began in July when the Environment Ministry shut down the Ne'ameh landfill south of Beirut without securing a substitute. And so trash piled up in Beirut and Mount Lebanon. The government approved a plan to resolve the crisis last month, but several obstacles have prevented its implementation so far. So, what do you notice? The author, how does he sound? Obviously, the writer's attitude and tone both mean the same, seems to be warning. He is warning of this danger. The writer warns that public health will be affected in an adverse way due to burning of garbage. The horrific consequences will be inevitable. Okay, he is also worried. The writer states that there is nothing it referring to tone here, we can do about that. Hence, the government has failed in resolving the garbage crisis and will aggravate the situation. Also, instead of worried, you might write pessimistic or hopeless, because the writer said that there's nothing that the government is doing. You could also say critical, but whatever adjective you choose, you should be able to justify it with information or with words from the text. Okay, now let's move on to our vocab list for the lesson. Words that we need to know. Number 1, renewable energy. We took that in a previous lesson. It's energy that comes from a source that doesn't end, such as wind, solar power, water, or hydropower, etc. Carbon neutral. When they say that this company has become carbon neutral, what does it mean? It's not resulting in the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And nowadays, several companies which are high-tech companies are pledging and are promising that they want to become carbon neutral. Unprecedented, never happened before. Purchase, buy, compelling, attractive or appealing. Skeptical, you're doubtful, you're not easily convinced. Decade is a period of 10 years. Generate energy, for example, produce. Alternative, a substitute or another. Restrictions are limiting conditions or measures, especially legal ones. For example, there are restrictions to swimming on this beach. Violations are breaking of the law or rules. Momentum, probably took in physics, means speed. Remotely means from far away. Please go through this list slowly, of course, on your own, and revise it and study it. Now we come to our lesson. Huge tech companies pledging, or as I said, promising to use alternative energy sources, green energy sources. Let's read the blurb. Read the following article about the commitments that tech companies are making to the use of alternative energy, then answer the questions that follow. Paragraph 1. Ahead of the start of week-long global climate change protests that began on September 20, Amazon, Google, AT&T, and other technology companies pledged unprecedented new commitments to renewable energy. So they're promising, those three big giants of technology are promising that they would use more renewable energy. A week-long global climate change strike began on September 20, 2019, with millions of young protesters participating. CBS News reported the protests have been organized by young people around the world who are part of the Fridays for Future campaign, which has seen students walk out of their schools on Fridays to demand their political leaders take urgent action to address climate change. Paragraph 3. Here's the headline message when you arrive at the portal. This week will be historic. In over 150 countries, people are stepping up to support young climate strikers and demand an end to the age of fossil fuels. The climate crisis won't wait, so neither will we. Vox offered numerous climate strike pictures from around the planet, showing large crowds of protesters in dozens of countries. So those young people were basically skipping school every Friday in order to protest what their governments are not doing about climate change, because their future is really in a dangerous place. Now this subtitle, Big Tech Goes All In for Renewable Energy. And yet, despite criticism regarding a lack of action, no action, or very little action from employees and students, Amazon, Google, and many other technology companies are leading the way in new commitments to renewable energy. TheVerge.com reported Amazon's plan to fight climate change, called the Climate Pledge, promises to reach the Paris Climate Agreement's most ambitious emissions cutting targets 10 years early, setting the company up to be carbon neutral by 2040, meaning that this company by this year will not be producing carbon dioxide at all. Bezos, who is the president or CEO of Amazon, as many of you might know, also laid out other goals, like for Amazon to use 80% renewable energy by 2024, which is like in 4 years, and to run on renewables alone in 2030. This is good news. Meanwhile, AT&T, which is a telecom company, telecommunication, also announced renewable energy purchases. It bought new energy systems. Today, as part of Climate Week New York City 2019, AT&T announced that our renewable energy purchases will surpass 1.5 gigawatts of clean energy capacity with the addition of new virtual power purchase agreement with Invenergy and Duke Energy Renewables. The new deals will support new wind and solar projects and help solidify AT&T's position as one of the largest corporate purchasers, meaning buyers, of renewable energy in the US. Paragraph 7. Not to be outdone, Google announced 18 new renewable energy deals. Google today announced its largest package of renewable energy deals yet. Worth a total of 1,600 megawatts, the package includes 18 deals in the US, Chile, and Europe. This brings Google's current set of wind and solar agreements to about 5,500 megawatts, and the company's number of total renewable projects it's involved in to 52. Google argues that these new projects it announced today will drive about $2 billion in investments in new energy infrastructure. Paragraph 8. In the US, Google says it will purchase a total of 720 megawatts from solar farms in North Carolina. What do we mean by solar farms? It's like a huge farm, a huge area where they just put solar panels. They call them solar farms. South Carolina and Texas. And the reason they're installed there is because these 3 states in the US have a lot of sun. In Chile, which is a country in South America, it's buying an additional 125 megawatts to power its data center there. For reasons only known to Google PR, the company will only announce details of its plans for Europe tomorrow at an event in Finland where Google CEO Sundar Pichai will be present. Engadget.com called these Google actions a record-breaking investment in renewable energy. So as you see, those mega technology companies are trying to look good, are trying to improve their reputation, by using more renewable energy and trying to do something to save the environment, save the planet. Another subtitle, Challenges Ahead, Contradictory Messages. Okay, we got the good news. Google, AT&T, Amazon are all going renewable in the near future. But what are the challenges? Is there a catch to this? Let's see. Paragraph 12. And yet, despite all of this new investment and aggressive action by top tech companies, huge challenges remain. There are difficulties. Miles O'Brien says, if you look at the slice of the pie right now that is renewables in the United States, it's about 17%. All of this that we mentioned is just 17%. Renewable energy with all of this that we're talking about in the near future will only be 17% of energy used. And the rest is still fuel, basically, or pollutants. A little more than 7% of that is hydro and dams. There is no new rivers to dam up. A little more than 6% of that is wind. A little more than 1% is solar. So this is it. In order to get rid of all the fossil fuel, this is the main culprit, the main criminal, which is about 63% of the pie. It's still, despite all of this, it's still 63% of the energy used. By 2050, one of the big things you have to solve is the issue of storage, the intermittency of wind power and solar. When the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, you're not generating electricity. Okay, this is one of the shortcomings of alternative energy. If there's no wind, you will not get energy. If there's no sun on a cloudy day, you will not get energy, or you will not generate electricity. We like to have our lights 24/7, 365, 24 days, 24 hours, 7 days, 365 days. Okay, so that's a big issue that needs to be addressed. And it raises questions about where nuclear power fits in this mix. As we know, nuclear power, one little portion of nuclear power is better than all of this by millions of times. But of course, it has its limitations and its dangers. Paragraph 14, and despite the major new actions by top tech companies, some naysayers or no-sayers claim that not enough is being done. Gizmodo says Amazon's plan is full of gaping holes. They believe there's a catch to it. They're skeptical about this all. Now together, let's answer the following questions using complete sentences of our own. Number 1, pretty easy. According to the article, why are students walking out of school every Friday? As we said, every Friday these youngsters are walking out of school to protest climate change and how the governments of their respective countries aren't doing anything about it. 2, based on paragraph 3, what can you deduce is the main reason behind climate change? Obviously, the main culprit is the burning of fossil fuels, the main energy source in the world. 3, are all types of renewable energy practical everywhere in your opinion? We just talked about the limitations. What type of clean energy use can be feasible or practical in your country? Explain. Of course, as we said, on a rainy day, you won't get solar energy, you won't generate electricity. If the day is not windy, you will not generate electricity. Those are the limitations. For example, in Europe, can you use solar panels? Of course not. Because in Europe, in North Europe especially, most of the time it's dark and it's rainy. You can use, however, wind energy in North Europe because there's a lot of wind there. So it has its limitations. What type of clean energy use can be implemented in Lebanon? Obviously solar energy for most of the year. And hydropower. Hydropower means water energy because we have a lot of water bodies in Lebanon. We can invest that. We can harvest that power. But unfortunately, we're not doing so. So this could be feasible in the near future. Now the answers, there they are. You can take a look at the PowerPoint lectures and copy them or study them if you want. So this is it. Anyway, until next time, thank you for listening and bye-bye.